Hi, I'm Kelly Wilson, and joining me today is Julia Walsh. We're both consultants with DCI Consulting Group, and we're here to talk about the Uber Technologies gender wage gap study that was recently released in partnership with the University of Chicago and Stanford researchers. This case is extremely important and relevant to our industry because it highlights the importance of understanding what the wage gap actually means at organizations and the difference between a wage gap that is discriminatory in nature versus a wage gap that we can understand and explain away with legitimate non-discriminatory factors. So with me today, Julia is going to highlight the findings of this study, and then we'll circle back on wrapping up this video blog.
Great, thanks, Kelly. So as Kelly mentioned, the researchers found that male Uber drivers on average earned about 7% more than female Uber drivers. And because of the way the study was designed and the way that Uber drivers are paid, the researchers were able to completely explain the variance that we saw in pay. As it turns out, there were three factors that were influencing the pay difference. The first one was experience, in other words, learning by doing. So the researchers saw that male Uber drivers had more hours of driving experience under their belt. So that meant that they had more time driving, more time to learn the most lucrative routes, the best neighborhoods to go, and the best times of day to drive. So the second finding was that preferences for where and when to work differed between men and women when it came to Uber drivers. So men tended to pick different shifts, different times of day, that ended up being more lucrative. So they made more airport runs, and that seemed to play a big factor in the pay difference. And then the third difference that they saw, or the third finding that they saw, was the driving speed was different between men and women. So male Uber drivers tended to drive faster on average than female drivers, which meant they can make more trips per hour, more trips per shift, and that all accumulated over time, which also translated into higher pay for the male Uber drivers. Back to you, Kelly.
Thanks, Julia. And so I think the takeaway from this study is that Uber found that these three findings, these three variables, are legitimate factors that explain away that wage gap. And they also ruled out discrimination throughout their study. And we cannot stress enough, if you are going to undergo one of these wage gap studies in your organization, it is a complex process to really understand and document and code for some of these variables in your analysis. So more to come on that. If you have any questions about running these analyses, please feel free to reach out. And we look forward to talking to you more about this in the future.